Recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Fire up the projectors, turn on your TVs, and adjust your antennas. It's time for the Screen Addicts Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Screen Addicts Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Steven Reality Bites Sosa.
And I am your other co-host, Chris. This is really me, not scripted, Vegas.
The real deal man of steel.
That's right.
So how you been, Chris?
I've been good, man. How are you? How was, I listened to your episode last week. I know you seemed kind of sad that a couple of your favorite shows ended.
Yeah.
But man, you had some fun.
I did. I was trying to mask my disappointment, or not disappointment, my depression of losing Mad Dog, and it's been a chaotic couple of weeks, man. We had the wedding, and then we moved them down to Lakeland, which is about 5 to 6 hours from where we are here, so that really sucks because it's not just a drive down the road to see her in the same town. So, I mean, luckily, if we needed to, we can get in the car and be there in, 6 hours and stuff. But just moving all their furniture in, and I was like, I thought it was over all this shit, man. I didn't realize I had to put my 20-year-old back on and just okay, let me tell you, it's furniture pieces, washer and dryer, third floor,
Ouch.
Chris.
That's why you hire a moving company, my man.
I really wanted to. At that point, it was too late. I was like, you know what? Let's just mow it down and get to going. But yeah, everything worked out really well. The wedding was nice and everything. So, but moving on to what we always do, and that is just be the screen addicts that we are. And we had discussed about no longer doing the mini-sodes, and I don't know if we'll ever get back to it, but it seemed like we had a pretty good response in doing it. But then we also had some people telling us that they kind of liked having everything all in one. Basically, our recently watched, our headlines, and then the main topic. So we're going to try and go back to that formula for a little while. And if people like the minisodes, we could possibly go back to the minisodes, or just stick with the classic, tried and true. But I don't know. We'll see how we feel about doing this. Honestly, I kind of miss doing it all in one, man, because when we split up things, a little bit too. Yeah, and then when we split things up, it's just kind of we miss certain details of the week and news and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. But that being said, we always start off our first topic with our recently watched. So, Chris, what have you been recently watching, man?
All right, man. So with summer here, and the kids out of school, and the wife not working because she's a teacher, so she's on summer break as well, I've gotten to watch some movies. Tasha sit down and she'll watch some movies with me. So we kind of went on this murder mystery kind of binge on some movies, some old, some newer. But we started off with the movie and these are all on Netflix, by the way. You can stream all these on Netflix. The first one we watched was Prisoners, with Hugh Grant, Jake Gyllenhaal, Viola Davis. Oh yeah, Hugh Jackman. My bad.
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant.
Man, that would have been a drastically different movie.
Way different change.
I want to see that version of it.
Wow. All right. Anyway, Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Viola Davis. Man, we've seen this movie before, but we didn't realize that we watched it before until we were like 5 minutes in. We're like, hey, we've seen this already, but it's so good. Let's go ahead and finish it. So that one was good, man. If you've never seen that one, it's really good. Kind of like a thriller mystery. Couple kids go missing. One of them's Hugh Jackman's daughter, and he's doing everything he can to find her, and he goes to great lengths to find her. And it's just crazy. Some plot twist in there that you never really see coming a little bit with this one, so that one's really good. So check that one out, Prisoners. We'll also watch the new movie, a new Netflix original called Missing. And let me tell you, man, this one was okay. I didn't like the way this movie was filmed. This movie was filmed like the whole thing was shot and presented and edited as if you were watching the whole thing through your webcam or your phone cam. Like pretty much the entire movie was almost a computer screen with a selfie view on it. It was okay. Definitely some surprises in that movie as far as story points go. Usually, me and you are really pretty good at trying to figuring out some of the plot twists before they come, or like, oh, this is kind of obvious, this and that. But this one, it got me on a couple, so that was interesting. That was a little fun. So, Missing on Netflix is another one we watched. And
let me ask you, did you? Uh-huh. I'm so sorry. Did you see Searching with John Cho?
I haven't seen that one. No.
Okay, I didn't know. I think Missing might be a spiritual sequel to that movie, or it's the same producers or something. Because Searching is the same thing. John Cho plays a man looking for his daughter. His daughter is missing, basically, and so he goes through all of his devices, his MacBook, her iPad, his location. Like, I mean, it's essentially the same thing. So I wasn't sure if he made any kind of cameo in that movie or if it was tied into Searching somehow. But I think it's set in the same universe, if I'm not mistaken. But I was going to say, if you didn't care for the style of Missing, then you definitely probably wouldn't prefer Searching. Although I thought it was pretty decent. You know, it was pretty well received critically, but I haven't seen Missing yet. You said that's on Netflix, though? I might check Netflix, it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at the cast on Missing. I don't see John Cho on here.
Okay. I was going to say, if it was anything, it would have been a cameo or something. But, all right. So what else did you get?
And then we watched another one on Netflix. It's called Lou. And it has...
with Allison Janney.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it also has your girl... Journey Smollett.
Smollett. Yeah, buddy. What was she in, Chris?
She was in a show about some Texas football. I don't even remember what it is.
Yes.
But man, let me tell you, Chaney is pretty damn gangster in this movie, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She whips some ass in this movie, and it's pretty damn cool. Some of the kills in this movie are insane.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was one that I was kind of hesitant to start because I was like, it looks okay, but it ended up being probably the best of the three that I watched. So, Lou on Netflix as well, and then I was on one of my binges, man. I haven't, Discovery has added a bunch of stuff to the newly updated Max app because the Discovery Channel and HBO are now one. And I'll talk about this one a little bit more later because, we are talking about our favorite reality shows, and this binge that I am on is in my top 3. So I'll talk about that later.
Perfect.
But that's about it for me, man. Got some movies in, which I knew you'd be proud of me for.
Very proud.
And then, it's been like probably 4 days full of binging a show.
Of that reality show you were talking about?
Of the reality show,
oh, man. I like how you're leaving us on a little mini cliffhanger until the final segment.
Yeah.
Let's just skip to it. No, I'm just kidding. That's cool. All right. Well, I watched a couple of things myself, and I'm going to go ahead and start it off with the television front of things. And there is a new, or it's not a new series, season 4 of Dark Side of the Ring just premiered on Vice. And Dark Side of the Ring is a show that takes certain stories from pro wrestling history and just talks about them in detail. And I mean, the name Dark Side of the Ring, it very much implies the situations that took place. Like for people that weren't familiar with someone like Chris Benoit, the famous pro wrestler, considered one of the best wrestlers of all time, in-ring technician master who brutally murdered his wife and pretty much 2-year-old son, because of a roid rage incident. Like, this is the kind of stuff that they're talking about on this series. And season 4 just premiered, and that show, it's just so good, and it's so in depth with the research that they do, and it's just really sad how the wrestling business is built on this platform of appealing to such a wide mainstream and global audience of men, women, and children, and how some of these wrestlers, people say it's fake. Yes, the outcomes are predetermined, but man, you're slamming your 220-pound body around on these mats, on these floors. You're getting hit. You deal with a lot of physicality that has a lot of long-term ramifications and consequences. And in some of these instances, these wrestlers take painkillers and they get addicted, and it creates these drug monsters. And some of these stories are just so dark, and the name definitely applies. But yeah, Dark Side of the Ring, even if you're not, like Sonya, for example, she doesn't care about pro wrestling. If me and Connor are watching it, she might be watching like the pay-per-view or something, kind of get into it just for the entertainment aspect of it, but she's definitely not seeking out any kind of wrestling programming. But she absolutely loves Dark Side of the Ring. She even said, "That's coming back, let me know when you're going to watch it, because I'll watch it with you," because she likes these stories. They have these true crime elements to them, and true crime is such a polarizing topic of discussion for conversation and programming, and that's just something that really draws a lot of people into it.
Where do you watch that?
Well, it's on Vice TV.
Vice TV. Okay.
I think Vice is a channel on our cable package, but I do believe that they upload all of their Dark Side of the Ring episodes on YouTube, on their YouTube channel. And I think they have it up there for like a week or two, so it allows people to go in there and watch it. But I don't think that they upload every single one of their Dark Side of the Ring episodes. I know for a time they were running on Hulu, so I'm not sure if they're still on there. But like I said, I don't keep them. I'll watch them once and then that's it. So we record them on our DVR. And if you have like YouTube TV or Sling TV, then Vice is a part of all those packages, and you can just record it from there. But
so according to the Googles, you can watch Dark Side of the Ring on Tubi for free.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so that's great. Because I mean, like I said, it's really good programming, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's not uplifting programming. I can tell you that much. It's very, very not. But on the flip side to that was a new comedy series that I started watching on Prime. And I believe it was airing on Freevee TV. It's like a Freevee original where it's basically like Tubi, where you can watch shows, but you have commercial breaks in between. And Freevee, I guess, signed over this comedy series called Jury Duty over to Prime. So now Prime has it, and you can stream it ad-free if you have that particular package on Prime. Jury Duty is a comedy series that it's set up like it's a reality show where you have a jury that is basically doing jury duty. But what people don't know is that literally everybody, even the case, is completely fake, except for one guy. One jury member thinks that all of this is real. So just the insanity that takes place. It's basically like, do you remember the Joe Schmo show that came out a long time ago? Well, the Joe Schmo show is basically this one guy living in this world, in this in this house with a couple of other strangers, a very real world-esque type of plot line, but everything around him was fake except for him. He thought that this was a real reality show and everybody around him were legit people, but they were all just fake actors in the most insane situations. And the same thing happens in Jury Duty. And even James Marsden is playing himself in this series, and he's basically playing a really asshole version of himself, trying to use his celebratory status to get out of jury duty. And he's just an alternate, which really pisses him off because he's not even in the actual jury. And dude, it's so funny though. And it's hilarious watching Marsden do stuff like that because, he's been funny in certain things, but nothing like this kind of in-depth comedy. And it's just such a hilarious show. There's only 8 episodes. It's 30 minutes apiece. It's an easy watch. I highly recommend anybody watch it just because it's just so funny. And it's definitely not for the family. It's hard R-rated stuff. But Jury Duty on Prime, highly recommend that one. As for the movie front, I watched a couple of movies. One of them was The Truman Show. The Truman Show celebrated its 25th anniversary, so anytime there's a big anniversary thing, I typically like to throw big parties for some of my favorite movies, but we just haven't had time, so just watching it will suffice. And rewatching The Truman Show, man, it's just such a beautiful movie. The story is... it's bizarre and eerie how it foretold the landscape of reality television, because basically that's what Jim Carrey is. And very much like Jury Duty, Jim Carrey plays this man named Truman Burbank who is living in this idealistic world where it's a very Pleasantville-esque world that he lives in, very sheltered, but then everything around him is fake for the sake of television and entertainment. And it's definitely like Joe Schmo Jury Duty type. And everybody around him is not real. So he kind of starts piecing it together and this and that. And if you've never seen The Truman Show, I highly recommend it. It's on Showtime, but it's also with the Paramount Plus Showtime package. So if you don't have the hard copy like I do, of course, the Blu-ray.
Not everybody does these days, Steven.
The Blu-ray was dusted off because I don't have Showtime. But I rewatched it. Visually, it's so beautiful to look at, and that movie just holds up so well in content and in picture. And even Jim Carrey, that was like one of his first movies where people were like, "Oh wait, this isn't Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey. This is what is he doing? Like, he's kind of serious. Like, this is kind of a serious movie at times." And it was one of the first roles that he did where a lot of people started to look at him as a serious dramatic actor. And yeah, Truman Show, good stuff. Okay, there were two that I saved from last week that I wanted to talk to you about, Chris. And one of them was White Men Can't Jump on Hulu.
Yeah.
So let's hear it, man. Let's hear your thoughts. Let's hear them. I have to hear them.
Okay, so, we did have Danielle on a couple weeks ago, and
yeah,
she did bring up some valid points about this movie. I still gave it a watch. As a true screen addict, we kind of want to watch everything just to see how it goes. And, man, I have to say, definitely not great, but it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't horrible. Jack Harlow did way better than I thought he was going to do. The storyline was way different from the original White Man Can't Jump.
Yeah.
There's a little bit darker tones in this one. More of mental health type of deals going on and stuff.
Yeah.
So, everything wrapped up, man. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was a fun, quick little watch, and I'll probably just watch it that once, and then I'm done.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think that it was really compelling on any kind of level, but I wasn't bored with it. I thought it was fine. It was a decent 100 minutes to watch, and even the basketball action, the choreography of the games were actually pretty good. I think that was the strong point of the movie, was the actual basketball action that was taking place. And I'm not sure if Jack Harlow, I guess that was him doing his own stunts and doing the basketball like ball work and stuff like that. Yeah. But overall, I thought it was okay. I don't really attest to any remake. I'm not in the camp of I prefer the remake over the original in too many cases, and that definitely applies for this one. That first one's just so good, and it seems like we live in a different climate sociologically now, where we start to analyze things from a racial perspective rather than, I guess in the first one, it was more of like a class system, and more of, it wasn't really so much about that. They would kind of make some off-colored jokes about it, but it never really was about that so much, even though the title would dictate that would be the case. But I think that this movie was, like you said, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be terrible and and I didn't know who Jack Harlow was. And then when I looked into who he was, I thought, oh, this is gonna be shit. This is so stupid. I tried listening to some of his music. I couldn't even get into any of his music. So I was like, oh man, this is gonna be bad. But I keep an open mind, and it was okay. I definitely am good. Not ever watching it again, but I also didn't realize that it was Lance Reddick's final film. Here, I thought John Wick Chapter 4 was going to be his final film, but it was actually this one, which, damn it.
Going out on top.
I was like, oh no. If he had only known, I just hope he believes that John Wick Chapter 4 was his last foray in cinema history. But overall, his little small role in that movie as the other main character's father was good, but it just really didn't dive too deep into any of that stuff. But overall, it was all right. Now, the other movie that I watched that I was going to save to talk to you about was Hypnotic, another one of your top 5 summer must-see movies. And, well, it was not that great either. And
I'm batting 0 right now.
And you struck out twice. But, well, I wouldn't say, like, Hypnotic is a really interesting movie. It kind of reminds me of those old movies in the 90s where you would have big stars, but they were movies that came directly to DVD or something, and it almost felt like a Netflix original or a Prime original movie. It didn't really have that big budget, big blockbuster feel to it, which I thought was kind of surprising considering Robert Rodriguez was doing it. But I guess he thought, look, if I have to make another movie after the financial disaster that was Alita Battle Angel, I'm going to have to play it pretty low key in terms of finance, which he very much did. But the story actually was pretty good. I thought the twist ending, like there's a twist about a third, or I would say about 70% of the way through the movie. And there was another twist at the end of the movie that I obviously wouldn't give away right now. But I thought, okay, this is starting to turn into a glorified episode of Black Mirror, I guess you could say, and which is definitely not a bad thing. That's more of an endorsement for the film than anything else, because here on the Screen Addicts podcast, we love Black Mirror.
Heck yeah.
And
just coming out soon.
It is coming out soon, and I cannot wait. And as far as Hypnotic, Ben Affleck, he did fine. It felt very weird seeing him in this movie where I felt like he wasn't giving it his all. It almost felt like he had to be there, kind of phoning it in on the performance and stuff. But basically, hypnotics are people that can manipulate your mind into doing and making you into doing things. You become under their control, mental telepathy, and you do all kinds of crazy shit. And it I don't know. It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't bad. But top 5 summer, whew, Chris, no, man. Oh, no. Also, one of my final points about that is, like, I felt like Robert Rodriguez was trying to do some high-concept science fiction a la Christopher Nolan, and, well, let's just leave some of that stuff to Christopher Nolan, because, I mean, even he doesn't get it right. Look at Tenet, and, yeah. But the final movie that I saw was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Chris, it was a glorious piece of animated cinema, my man. I thought Suzume had it locked for the best animated feature so far this year until I saw that movie. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Did you get to see it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Not yet, but I mean, just the first one.
Yeah.
And if you can, from what I hear, like the first, and I've seen the first one. The first one was freaking amazing. Love the first one.
Yeah.
And so if they can even do better than that, which I've heard, oh my God, I can't even imagine.
You're going to hear it again because it is better. Across the Spider-Verse is, I wouldn't say so much better, because Into the Spider-Verse was a great movie in itself. But Across the Spider-Verse improves in terms of animation quality. It improves in terms of voice acting. They casted more people in this with the inclusion of Oscar Isaac, Issa Rae, and of course Haley Steinfeld returns as Gwen Stacy, and Shameik Moore is returning as Miles Morales. And it's just everything about the first one kind of amped up a little bit more.
Man.
And the way that they separated the worlds, because I guess Into the Spider-Verse, you didn't really see Miles going into the other worlds as much as they were coming into his.
Right.
But in this one, he's venturing into their universes, or we see it as a viewer venturing into their universes. And what they do that's so brilliant is that in each universe that you go into, it's a different color palette. It's a different animated style. So, for example, you go to Gwen Stacy's world, and it's watercolors. So you see backdrops of her buildings and her rooms as watercolors, but she's still looks like she does in a 3D, 2D kind of mishmash of animated quality. And it just looks so gorgeous, man. Every shot in that movie, I always say desktop wallpaper as a way of like saying it's art. Yeah. Like you could hang up pretty much any still in this movie on your wall as a piece of art. And you know, he goes into another world. Spider-Man India looks like the old 60s comics. He goes to Spider-Man 2099, played by Oscar Isaac, and that looks like a future video game. I mean, it just every world that he ventured into looked completely different. What about the Spider-Pig?
Is it a Spider-Pig in this one?
I can't give all of the spoilers, but there are a lot of great cameos in this version, and dude, it leaves you in a massive cliffhanger, one that I was not anticipating, and it was already 2.5 hours, bro. It was like, oh my gosh, yes, I checked my clock. It started at like 12:50. I got out at 3:30, and I had to look up IMDb to see how long it was. I thought, well, this can't be. Before going in, I was like, well, it's probably going to be like maybe 2 hours max. Like, no way it'll be longer than that. No, it's 2 hours and 25 minutes this movie is. Man. And it did feel like that they could have cut out some stuff, but I think from a visual standpoint, they were like, no, keep it all in because people worked so hard on it. Since 2018, they've been working on this movie, so it's a 5-year journey to get to this point. But luckily, Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think they filmed it back to back or consecutively because it's coming out next year. So there's no I think that was kind of the gap in between, was that they were working on both of the movies together because
at the same time.
Thank God, because that cliffhanger, man, was brutal. But yeah, I highly recommend everyone see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It's a better version than the first one, and you know, family, little kids would love it. Grown-ups would love it. I think another thing is that the kids will love it because it's Spider-Man, but grown-ups will love it because of the intelligent storyline that it has. Like, they talk a lot about multiverse jumping, temporal jumping. Just a lot of scientific stuff really goes into the description of how some things are canon. And, like, if it happens in one world, it has to happen in all of them because that's how they all coexist, is that keeps them in line and keeps them alive, and you can't break the timeline in any of the universes. And that's kind of what Miles is thinking. He's like, well, I don't want so-and-so to die, so I could care less about your timeline. I'm gonna save this you know, it's just such a great emotional movie. And I can't wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse. But yes, take your boys, or don't even take them, go see it yourself. It doesn't matter, but highly recommend that one. And cool. Well, I guess that leads us to the headlines. So the first headline that I have is actually the box office report. So back to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The opening weekend was $120 million, which more than doubled its predecessor's opening weekend. The Into the Spider-Verse had about $60 million opening. So people were really looking forward to this movie, man. It was a huge hit. It dethroned The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid, I don't think it's going to be one of those big powerhouse box office blockbusters like The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast were. I think it's kind of stagnant. It'll be pretty difficult to cross the $250 million threshold. Definitely may not see $300 million domestically. It will make well overseas, but Across the Spider-Verse came out, just dominated that weekend, man.
Well, you know, I don't think, you know, Little Mermaid, I've heard mixed reviews about it, and now it's going up against some really big movies that are coming out. Spider-Man, Transformers, Beast Wars coming out this week. Flash is coming out next week. Yeah, like it's got a lot of things stacked up against it. So I think it had a good 1 week run, and that's about what you're gonna get.
I guess the Little Mermaid's gonna drown at the box office.
Oh
Anyway,
my God.
but and I still haven't seen it though. I've heard mixed. I haven't heard that it was bad though. I've heard that it was okay to some people raving about it. So it's just one of those that I'll definitely have to go see to make my own perspective. But it was funny because with Across the Spider-Verse, there was no hesitation on any part. Like, I'm not the biggest Spider-Man or Marvel fan, but that first one was so good that I was like, yeah, this one's probably going to be just as good, or if not better. But I also would feel kind of weird going to see The Little Mermaid by myself.
Alone?
I would definitely need like Sonya with me or something to kind of butch up a little bit.
You and Connor go by yourselves.
He'd be down, man. That's my ride or die when it comes to the movies. Especially now that Madison's gone. Madison would have been perfect. I'm like, hey, let's go see The Little Mermaid. Like, you could be my shield, to allow me to go see it. But yeah, that would be hilarious. But but like I said, dropped to number 2 pretty hard, and Spider-Verse is doing pretty well. Something on the TV front for the next headline was the new Max series, The Idol, starring Lily Rose Depp, and The Weeknd premiered this past week. And the fact that there was so much going on with the production of this show, a lot of controversy went into this series. And basically, The Idol is about young Lily Rose Depp, who played, I think she plays like an influencer or like a musician or somebody in the popular limelight that had a mental breakdown, and she had to step away from everything for about a year, but then she's trying to come back into the fold and try to become popular yet again. And I guess she befriends one of the characters played by The Weeknd, and apparently there was a lot of toxic situations that took place off the set. And did you see The Idol by any chance? Did you watch that?
Me and Tasha were gonna start it, but I got so much into my binge that I didn't let her, so it's my fault.
Yeah, and I didn't watch it either, but I think it's also, well, I don't think it is from the Sam Levinson who produced Euphoria, so I still haven't seen that yet. But apparently in The Idol, there were a couple of female producers of the series that left the series because they weren't seeing eye to eye with the production companies. So that when they brought Sam Levinson and The Weeknd became more of an executive producer of the show, they cranked up a lot of the sex and nudity in the show. So that really kind of irked a lot of people. And it's just kind of like, well, I guess now it's not so much about whatever the show is going to be about, rather than, hey, we're on HBO, let's show as much full frontal nudity as we possibly can. So, and then Lily Rose Depp, the daughter of Johnny Depp, of course, she was talking about how, I think she was defending The Weeknd more or less than anything, because people were saying that he was real aggressive on the set to his co-stars and to the production crew. And she said, well, he's a method actor and his character would do that. So I just would stay away from him whenever he was filming certain scenes. And I'm thinking, well, that's not very good either, but I don't know. So we'll see how that show goes. I haven't heard anything back on the ratings. Like, I don't think that it was a really huge ratings boom like some of the other producers at HBO were expecting it to be, but we'll have to see in the next coming weeks. So another headline that I had was, this is kind of interesting. Tom Cruise is in a battle of IMAX War of the Worlds, if you can. And basically, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, still the ridiculously long title, should not have ever called it that many things, but he is kind of pissed off that Mission Impossible 7, I'll just say MI7, is getting a limited IMAX run, because in the following weeks Oppenheimer and Barbie will be on some of the screens sharing it with the IMAX as well. And he's kind of pissed off because I think in his mind, especially after Maverick, he thinks, well, people... And I do think that he has somewhat of a point here. I mean, Oppenheimer and Barbie really aren't two movies that strike me as IMAX quality. I'm sure Oppenheimer is. I'm sure there are scenes in
Oppenheimer, but Barbie, bro, come on.
Yeah, probably not so much Barbie, but Oppenheimer, with the Christopher Nolan aspect of it, he does shoot in like 70 millimeter and sometimes 90 millimeter for IMAX. So I think that his presentation, but it's more about the quality of his film, not so much something cinematically. And I do believe that something like Mission Impossible is more set for IMAX, like much like Maverick.
Yeah.
Like, that movie is shot action movies of that spectacle are typically better off in an IMAX screening. So he does have a point to kind of lose those box office numbers for that, because as we all know, IMAX charges what, $10 more
$10
at some cases
more.
for the ticket. So to lose out on those buy rates, it's probably going to piss him off, because also as a producer, he gets back in from the box office. So I think that's kind of what it really comes down to, because
But damn, Tom, don't you have enough money already, bro? Come on,
Right.
let it go a little bit.
did you know how much he made for Maverick? He made like $300 million just off of Maverick alone,
Jesus.
because he forwent his salary and basically just said that he wanted to be paid a percentage. Excuse me. I tried to mute that.
Damn
Couldn't make it.
allergies.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. So he was saying that he wanted to be paid a percent.
Oh my god.
That's good stuff, man. Are we good? I think so.
I don't know, are we?
I don't know. And I even tried to mute it. You know when you do that sneeze and you just like shake like an old man. And you
Everything
just...
stops.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Tom Cruise, he was getting back in points for the box office grosses of Maverick, and he forgone. He did not take his salary.
There you go.
Forfeited his salary just to get box office. And of course, Maverick was the highest grossing movie of last year, made close to $2 billion, and he made maybe more than $300 million. But yeah,
Jeez.
So we'll see how that plays out. And I believe you have a headline that you would like to share.
I don't know if it's much of a headline, but some exciting personal news a little bit on the Screen Addicts front that's going to make Steven pretty mad. But yesterday, I'm watching TV, and I get an email saying, hey, you have been selected to attend what is
A screening.
Yes, you have been selected to view a screening of The Flash early.
Ugh.
And so I'm like, okay, somebody's like bullshitting with me. It's a lie, whatever. So, but, I risked the viruses on the phone and clicked the link. And man, I get to go see The Flash at an early screening on Wednesday.
Wait,
so I'm
tomorrow?
super excited. Tomorrow.
You get to see it June 7th, not June 15th. Tomorrow.
No, June 7th. Tomorrow.
You son of a bitch. Oh, I thought it was like the Wednesday before. That's why I was like, it's just the day before I was going to see it.
No.
Tomorrow. So you're seeing it tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh, man. This is when I should have been sneezing. This is terrible. I can't believe that. Well, it's like I was saying, though. I heard that they're like graying out or like blocking out some of the end sequences too. Maybe that's why you got it for free.
It's a possibility, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, even if they did that, I'm still going to be able to see probably 90% of the movie, so I'm good. I'll be all right.
That's true.
Which just means I'm going to have to go see it again. And that's fine. But man, like a whole week and a half early, I'm super excited.
Well, of course, I was like super jealous. So I was like, what the hell? Why didn't I get a Fandango email? So I went to my Fandango account. I checked. Nothing. And I'm like, oh, that's right, because they're not doing any screenings here in Panama City because we suck. I was like, well, that explains that. I couldn't even figure out where the closest one. I think Atlanta was probably like the closest theater that was doing it. This is terrible. Florida sucks. For so many reasons.
I've been telling you that for years, but man, I'm excited. But I mean, how can you? I'm excited, but kind of sad at the same time, because if they do gray out or blur some of the end or just cut the movie off before it ends, it's gonna really piss me off. Yeah,
but if you go into it with that expectation, maybe it won't be so bad. But I mean, because you are paying, you get it for free, so I mean, it's like you can't really say, well, I paid for it. But yeah, I couldn't do that. I would rather just wait to watch the full thing in its entirety. But I would still go to that too, now that I think about it. But Yeah, that would suck though.
And now I get to like torture you for like a week and a half.
Well, I'll just block you from everything, so that doesn't bother. I'm like,
oh, that bothers me. That's mean.
I'll block you from literally everything. Like, are we still doing the podcast? Because I don't even know where you are.
We could do the podcast on June 19th. It's fine.
Yeah, right. The day after I watch it. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing a flash review show for this after we've both seen the movie in its entirety. So that's pretty exciting. But the final headline that I had, which kind of leads into our main topic tonight, was that the WGA strike, the Writers Guild Association, is still on strike. And this is getting out of control, man. They had chat GPTs running these scripts. And there have been a lot of TikToks. Like, you can go to TikTok and watch, like, what a chat GPT or whatever script would look like, an AI generated script, and they have people like acting them out. It's so funny seeing some of these scripts being acted out that would be written by AI as what these studios are trying to push for. And dude, it's cringy shit, man. The dialogue is so bad. I was like, you could have Al Pacino with Robert De Niro in the same scene and it still would be bad. And so I'm hoping that that's a lesson to them. But what the Writers Guild strike is also putting a lot of pressure on our television production companies. Not so much movies. Like, movies can be written and pushed out. And the real problem is television production companies are trying to slate their fall schedule. So in order to do so, they start prepping and filming over the summer to have their big September premiere dates for the fall, because the fall season is the big season for mostly broadcast and cable television networks. And without the writers, they're kind of stuck in the situation that they were back in 2007, where they said, well, an easy fix to this is to create a whole bunch of reality shows. So back in 2007, during the writers strike, production companies were like, well, reality shows are cheap to produce and we could just generate a whole bunch of them. And a lot of them, man, were just complete bombs, complete disasters.
Bad.
And I think that they were so bad at the time that they said, okay, give them whatever they want. We'll hire every writer we can back because this is just not cutting it from a quality standpoint. So we may be looking at another full slate of reality shows premiering in the fall, which is kind of scary to think. But I think what's different now than it was in 2007 is that we have so much content out there now that it would probably allow a lot of us streamers, especially screen addicts like us, to go back and catch up on shows that we may have missed or movies that we may have missed. And so that's a really good time to just catch up on a lot of existing programming. But if you did happen to watch something from a reality-based standpoint, there's going to be a buffet of them, if you will. And that inspired the main topic for tonight, which is, what were some of our favorite all-time reality shows? And man, there are a bunch, Chris. There are so many.
So many. And, it's not just game shows like some of the ones that are challenges and you win money at the end. And we're talking about anything like Keeping Up with the Kardashian type shows, reality stuff like that. I mean, it all encompasses reality TV. And to kind of speak on what Steven was just saying, you're getting a whole plethora of these new reality shows. Dude, have you seen the shit? I mean, I'm going to say it's shit already, that I think Fox is teasing and running trailers for a show called Stars on Mars.
Oh my God, it's starting. No, I haven't, but I will definitely see the trailer for it.
It is so bad.
Stars on Mars.
Stars on Mars. The host is oh shit. Who's the host? He's a big name. Star Trek guy.
Brett Spiner, LeVar Burton.
The main dude.
Patrick Stewart?
No.
William Shatner. William
Shatner's the host of this show. And you have celebrities living in conditions on like if it was Mars.
Oh my God, this is so bad. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Like
Bring the writers back, please.
Yes, without writers, and that kind of freak show entertainment could work for so long. People just out of morbid curiosity, someone would tune into something like that just to see what it is, and then they realize this is the worst piece of shit I've ever seen in my life, and then quickly turn it off. So I'm hoping that things like that just die a death. And I know like pre-established shows, like some of the ones that are probably going to be on our list, but like the music shows like The Voice, American Idol, America's Got Talent, like those are staples in this type of genre, so they'll be fine. Shows like that won't go away. But I'm talking about shit like Stars on Mars. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm definitely not talking about that as any of our favorites.
No,
we do have our rankings,
not.
of course. But so, Chris, if you want to go ahead and knock out our top 3 favorites, go ahead, man. Number 3.
Yeah, my number 3, man, it is a show I constantly talk about in the summer on this show, and it is Big Brother. Man, I love that show. There's all aspects of the show. You have these people that live in a house together. They compete against one another. It's just, man, from the first season that I watched this, it hooked me. And it's funny because I could go back, and I think it's on Peacock or Paramount, one of the two, that I go back and I'm like, all right, let me see if I can watch the first season again. Nope, not gonna do that because
it doesn't hold up.
Man, it was bad. It was so bad. But it really hits its stride in like the 7th, 8th season. It starts to get it catches its ground, and it gets really good from there. It's fun because you have your villains, you have your good people, you have your people that cause drama, and it's just all the things that you guiltlessly love about this show, and almost any reality show is, if you don't have the drama, it's not good. And this one has its fair share of drama. And dude, I have to say, and I'll make this quick. A friend of mine I used to work with, we were cube mates. Like, she was on the other side of the wall from me. She's another one of the biggest Big Brother fans that I know, and we'd sit there and we'd talk about, oh, did you see this person and they kissed this one and I can't believe it, and da. We'd go off in the mornings over our little cup of coffee. Her name is Kimberly, and God bless her, man. She passed away, and I just this one's for her, and I'm gonna miss talking Big Brother with her, but loved it, man. So.
Damn, Chris, you just laid the sentimental hammer down, bro. I thought she just moved or something, man. That was that was deep, brother.
Yeah,
man, I'm sorry for your loss, and it's but the bonds of a shared television series is pretty tight, man.
It is. I mean, especially, it's something that, like Big Brother, man, it airs 3 times a week.
Oh, and shit.
So, I mean, you have constant stuff to talk about it.
Did you get any work done trying to recap that show?
Not for the first hour of each day, so... But, man, it's fun. And like you said, man, the bond over a TV show that 2 people love and like and follow pretty extensively, it's a pretty tight bond. So,
well, I'm glad y'all are able to share that with each other. I won't give you so much shit about Big Brother from here on out. Because we always tease you, and especially Jeremy, man. Jeremy was one merciless bastard about it. Like, damn, Jeremy, you don't act like you watch stupid shit too, But I never bugged you about, because I get it. Like, Big Brother is definitely one of those staple series that we were talking about as far as reality shows go, and it's been around for such a long time. Julie Chen, is she still the host of that show?
Yep. Julie Chen Moonves now, she says.
Oh,
she has her married name too. So.
Oh, okay. But yeah, she's been there since the beginning, right? Wasn't she the first?
She was
wow,
the
that's
first.
impressive. And if you find a gig that you just love and you make a lot of money doing it, you might as well keep doing it. But
keep going.
Big Brother makes sense to be on this list. My number 3 is actually somewhat similar to Big Brother. It's the Gen X MTV classic, The Real World. But The Real World also kind of lends its way into Road Rules, which then lends its way into The Challenge. So it's kind of like this little trajectory that I have. It's like a 3-pick, but it's all kind of one.
Of course it is.
And I was like thinking, how do I pick The Challenge without saying The Real World? Because what happens is like The Real World was such a popular, it's a pop culture iconic series, from the mid-90s where you had 6 strangers or 7 strangers get together, live in a house, and, what's going to happen? And you select your city, and you have these people that are, I guess they're working, like they get jobs, and it's supposed to be like a real life situation. And of course it's ramped up for television at times, but man, I watched so many seasons of that show. I stopped watching it, I would say probably like 5 or 6 years ago, but then, Road Rules came around, and Road Rules is essentially the real world plus challenges where they can earn money to complete these courses and challenges and stuff like that. And then they thought, well, you know what? Let's have the cast of The Real World meet the cast of the Road Rules and have a challenge. So essentially that's the birth of The Challenge. MTV's The Challenge, which still airs to this day. Paramount Plus is like real heavy on The Challenge too, man. Like they have challenges that are within the main cast. They have new casts of challenges. The All-Stars is really cool. Like I love watching the Challenge All-Stars because it's like people from the very beginning of The Real World, and you're like, damn, they're old. Somebody's gonna have a heart attack now. But it's. Oh, what were you gonna say, Chris?
I was gonna say one of your favorite wrestlers started in Real World or Road Rules, wasn't he?
Yeah, The Miz.
The Miz.
He's definitely not one of my favorites.
Oh, he's not your favorite? My bad.
No, not at all. I like The Miz, but that's where even when he started in WWE, he just had that heavy reality gimmick. Like his finisher was called the reality check. It's just so goofy. But yeah, that was like the birth of The Miz, and just the Real World or the All-Stars Challenge is so good. Like I like seeing a lot of the old contestants back in there, and it's somewhat of an even playing field because a lot of them are a lot older. They're not as smooth as they used to be, but yeah, but it all comes back to The Real World. Without The Real World, you don't have the challenge of today, and that's why it's my number 3 is The Real World. So,
okay, I have to ask you though. The Real World, was the original, the OG. What was your favorite season?
Oh man, I really liked The Real World Paris and The Real World Vegas. And I like those specifically because that was when we were just graduating high school, and we were in our first or second year of college when like the Real World Vegas and The Real World Paris were airing kind of consecutively. So as far as our ages were, we were the same age as that cast, essentially, like because they were in the same kind of 19 to 23 range that we were. So seeing a cast that was on the same age bracket as we are, you can really kind of see, and you think about, man, what would I do in somewhere like Paris, and that had like CT, who CT is like one of my all-time favorite players of all time, and even on the challenge, like he's had some of the most challenge victories on that. And I like that whole era from like maybe 98 with Hawaii all the way up to like 2002 where they're in Austin, stuff like that. Like I like that window of, and that's even when the challenge was good too. Like it was really good in that time period.
I would have to say, I think my favorite person from any of those was that boy Tag. Was Tad?
Tag.
Big, tall, skinny black dude. I think it was Hawaii, maybe.
Oh, Tech.
Where he was. Tech Money. Yes.
Yeah.
That was my
he's
dude,
funny.
man.
Yeah, he was Hawaii.
I loved him. He was Hawaii.
Tech.
That's what I thought.
And, he was even funny in the Challenge All-Stars. Like, I really like seeing Tech. He was funny as shit in the All-Stars, too, because he was like, he would straight up just be like, no, I'm not doing that shit. He's like, I can't do that. Are you fucking crazy? Like, I'm not getting in there. No, it was ridiculous. It was just so funny seeing him, and his personality, it's still the same. Like, he's grown up a bit. Like, they've all grown up a bit. You just kind of have to at a certain point in your life. But yeah, I think CT, like Derek and Johnny Bananas, who's won the most challenges. Like all those guys are just such iconic characters. But yeah, CT's my favorite. And shout out to my friend Erica who loves CT, and she's actually going to go to a challenge. It's like a meet and greet of certain challenge all-stars. So she's going to get to meet CT and Horacio in this last season. Horacio is such a good dude. Like, I like that character, man. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty. And he's a stud too. So he really reminded me of myself. And but yeah, shout out to Erica, who's finally going to get to meet CT, our challenge hero. And but yeah, and I think I'll go ahead and round up to my number 2 pick because it's also on MTV. My second favorite reality show of all time is Jackass. Jackass is a comedy series, a reality series of a bunch of guys that were playing pranks on each other and would skateboard, just hang out with each other, and basically just pulverize each other. It's kind of what it would be. And these stunts were so reckless and dangerous and over the top, and there was a lot of ball shattering in this show, man. Just stunts galore. And the series took on such a massive movement in pop culture lexicon that it branched itself into movies. So when the Jackass the movie came out, I believe it was like 2002 or 3, something like that. And when that movie came out, man, we were in the theaters and it was packed and people were dying laughing, man, dying laughing. You know who was a big fan of Jackass was my dad. I remembered I was watching Jackass. I was over at his house. It was like one of the mini reruns because they didn't air that many episodes of it. They would air like pretty much the same 8. And then I was watching at my dad's house. My dad's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, this is Jackass." And then he was just dying laughing, man. He thought it was so funny. I'm like, "Oh, you think that's funny? I have the movie on DVD. Let's watch the movie." So we watched the movie, and he's like, "Oh my God," just such shocking stuff, especially the movies, man, because they went all out in the movies, and it's just so nasty. It's so gross. Why I thought that was funny, I don't even know. It's probably why I saw Jackass number 4 last year in the damn theater. It just never stops. And it led its way into all these movies. They try to branch off into spin-offs like Bad Grandpa, which was funny, but it just didn't have the putting a narrative to a reality concept just does not work in all cases. I mean, it does like when you're Borat, or Sacha Baron Cohen has a way of doing that successfully with Borat, but it just doesn't. It didn't really work trying to do that with something like Jackass, but. Absolutely love that show. I don't know a guy or girl our age that didn't just laugh their ass off watching Jackass.
Dude, and I remember in you saying, these are some of the really dangerous stunts, and it was crazy what they did. As crazy and dangerous as the shit was, us as a group of friends, or we were like, "Oh, we should try this. Let's see what happens if we did this." And there was a game. Do you remember this game we played?
Oh yeah. Does it start with the letter N? I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nutball. It was
nutball.
Not fun.
No.
But we thought it was hilarious, and we gave it a shot, and fuck, we're dumb.
Yeah, man. Aren't you the reigning defending nutball champion, by the way, Chris?
I don't remember. I think I blacked out.
How stupid. We would sit on opposite ends of the room and just lob like a little racquetball, and whoever would submit to the most nut shots loses. Thank you, Jackass. And it probably prevented many children from being born. I remember one time our friend Ray, he was riding my bike, right? And he was like, "I'm going to try this thing on Jackass that I saw." I'm like, "Not on my bike, Ray." And he like crashed on the curb trying to do some stunt or something. And he just like wiped out on the concrete. And I was like,
my gosh.
My bike. And I didn't even check on Ray.
Didn't even care about Ray. You were just cared about the bike.
It was an expensive bike. I'm like, don't break the rim on your dumb shit. But yeah, that was the Jackass effect for sure. Man. And hanging off the side of a 4Runner. Remember that even made like our like a senior video. And I was just like, holy shit, what were we thinking? But I can't imagine. That's why I'm glad we didn't have YouTube back then, man. We would have been,
or we would have been viral, bro. One of the two.
That's what I was about to say. Maybe the very opposite. We probably would have been like these TikTok groups that a bunch of guys just doing goofy pranks and shit, and they have like millions of followers. That very well could have been us, but
could have been.
Yeah, but that's my number 2 is Jackass. So what do you got for number 2?
Oh, my number 2 is my recent binge, and I've watched this before in like 2017, 2018, I think is when it started. But like I said, it recently, with the HBO Discovery Channel merger, all the seasons are on Max now, and I have started the binge again of a show called Expedition Unknown.
Oh, okay.
With Josh Gates, and he goes, and he's an archaeologist, and it's very Indiana Jones, National Treasure-esque again.
Sweet.
With my treasure hunting shows.
Get your metal detector ready, Chris.
Dude, one of these days I'm going to buy one. I'm going to be the old man with a metal detector on a beach in Florida just searching for shit, man.
Like,
I can feel it.
You come to visit. Where's Chris? I'm like, oh, he's looking for doubloons on the shore.
I'm looking for Blackbeard's treasure. You leave me alone. But, man, this show, I don't know what it is, man. It grabs me, and I'm just so interested in, like, all the history of the world. Like, he goes searching for Amelia Earhart's plane, tombs from the Knights Templar, Bonnie and Clyde's guns and bodies where they were buried, like all sorts of stuff, man.
That's cool.
And it is really, really neat. And the last one that I watched, he was looking for Genghis Khan's tomb. Nobody has ever found where, and see, I know what you're thinking. He said Genghis Khan. It's Genghis Khan. No. In reality, in the people of Mongolia say it is pronounced Genghis Khan. And he says, he talks about it in the show. It's not Genghis, it's Genghis Khan. So, little knowledge for your people out there. Damn it!
I thought he was Mexican for a second. Okay, that's
Chingao Khan. That's me. That's me. Anyway. No, man, and it's just fun to learn about history and see. And there's sometimes, you think these shows, like, oh, they don't ever find nothing. It's just this and that. But there's been episodes where the dude actually finds, like, gold coins from pirate treasure, and they find planes that have never been found before and stuff like that. So, reality show for sure. My number 2, Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. That sounds really interesting.
It is. It's
I've never seen it.
Fun to have on in the background. Like, you could just listen to it.
What did it originally air on? Was it Discovery?
Discovery.
Channel? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's been around for a while, right?
Yeah, it's been around he took a big break during COVID because he couldn't go nowhere.
Right.
So it's finally, the new season has just started up a couple of weeks ago. And so it's ramping back up. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You cut out for a second.
Yeah, you did too. I was like, where did you go? But yeah. Okay. So,
cool.
But what were you saying about that he took a break from COVID?
Yeah, he took a break on COVID, and now the new season has just started back up a couple weeks ago. So it's new episodes are dropping weekly again. So I'm excited.
Sounds good, man. So before we round out our number ones, do you have any honorable mentions that you'd like to drop real quick?
Oh, I do. Good old American Idol.
Yeah.
I love me some American Idol, The Voice. Guilty pleasure, I can't believe I'm watching it and then invested into it. But Tasha has started it's on Netflix, Selling Sunset.
Oh, okay. That's what you were saying the other day.
Yes.
I'd never even heard of that. I thought it was like Love is Blind or something like that.
Oh, God. Selling Sunset is, we've been interested in, about a realtor group that sells really expensive houses.
Okay.
What else do I have? Rattle some off, and I'll think of some more.
Yeah, man, I had a couple here that Hell's Kitchen, pretty much anything with Gordon Ramsay, Kitchen Nightmares are always good. Flea Market Flip, Fear Factor, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy was such a popular show. America's Next Top Model was something that Sonya was hooked on, man, with Tyra Banks, and that was a big show. Hardcore Pawn Stars, Tough Enough. Tough Enough was actually one that I really liked, and it was WWE's version of a reality show where they would basically try out the next big superstar. So they would have a bunch of young men and women that they would vote in who would be the winner of Tough Enough, and they would get a WWE contract. So that was a good show.
Like the Ultimate Fighter. Basically,
yeah, and the Ultimate Fighter in itself is another really great reality series. I had on here... there was this one that came out. It was like 2008, I believe. It was on Fox. It was called On the Lot. Now, On the Lot had a bunch of filmmakers trying to compete for a contract to make a movie. So you had hosts that, like Michael Bay was one of the judges of the show. Wow. So they would end up making like movies every single week, like short films. And the guy that won was a guy named like Jason Epperson or something. He was actually from Canyon, Texas.
I was about to say, I remember that now.
And he won. And then in the final episode of that series, of that season, it was only one season. So at the final episode, that lucky bastard got to meet Steven Spielberg. Like Spielberg was there. He got to shake his hand. He said, "I'm looking forward to working with you." And I was so pissed. I was like, I hate this shit now. But yeah, On the Lot was such a great show, and I was like hoping that they would make more because, I mean, obviously from a perspective of a film fan, I was super stoked about the concept of making a reality-based movie series, but it never happened. So hopefully, not hopefully, nothing. That was like over 12 years ago. I definitely don't see that happening now. But yeah, man, did you have any more? I can't think of any.
I have a couple more. Chopped. Man, I love Chopped.
Yeah, Chopped is good. Swamp People was good.
Swamp People. There's one, Trading Spaces, where they redesigned each other's. There's one of me and Tasha's favorites. One of my favorites that I had started watching with Maddox was a sci-fi one called Face Off.
Oh, right.
Where they would design
the FX
creatures.
Stuff. Yeah, that one was really good.
I love that show. That's
Cake Wars. Lego Masters is a recent one that I thought was pretty decent. Cake Boss, yeah. Oh, dude, Duck Dynasty, man, had its run in the sun. Yeah. Like, I remember that one summer where it was like everything was Duck Dynasty. Like, nobody could talk about anything else other than Duck Dynasty. And, I mean, even we were watching it, I'm like, okay, this is kind of stupid. Shit, Tiger King, that whole thing, that whole run, especially during the beginning of the pandemic when nobody could go anywhere and Tiger King had premiered, like literally that's everything everybody was watching. I know that was more of a true crime series, but there was a lot of reality based influence into it. And but yeah, I think that's all I could think of. But
American Gladiators.
Dude, yes. I think any like Nickelodeon based game show could count as reality TV.
Yeah.
Guts, Double Dare, Legends of the Hidden Temple with those scary ass temple warriors popping up. But man, there's just so many, and I know that we're forgetting a bunch. I mean, it's
absolutely.
Just inevitable that we forget.
Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
I thought that would be your number one. I was kind of surprised.
It was close, man. I'm pretty sure it's number 4, but
dude, even Sylvester Stallone has a reality series right now. Did you see that on
with his
Hulu?
daughters?
Yeah, like the Sly and the Family Stallone or something like that, which is a great title. It's a nice play on Sly and the Family Stone. I was like, damn, that's a good title, but I don't think I'll ever watch that. But I'll just wait for the next season of Tulsa King instead. But
there you go.
Yeah. So, do you want to do your number one, or do you want me to do it?
I'll do number one because yours is a little more iconic than mine.
Yeah, sure.
So, but my number one, man, it has paved the way for my life a little bit. And when I first watched this show, it blew my mind, and it made me say to myself, I want to do that. I want to be one of these people. And this show is called Barbecue Pitmasters. Man, following competition barbecue people doing all these little competitions and what they do and how much money they spend and, you know, all the things that go in with competition barbecue. It just amazed me so much. It kind of like set a path for me and what I do for a living. And look what you did to me, asshole.
You're coughing on that smoker.
I know. And it's just everything that I wanted to be and continue to pursue, man. And it's just, you know, following some of the greats, Myron Mixon, which I've gotten to meet, Tuffy Stone, and then it had laid the foundation for other barbecue shows that I watch now, reality shows too, and even one that I almost got on, which I auditioned for one. It's called Your Barbecue Showdown. That just premiered season 2 on Netflix, and I watched that too. It pissed me off because I was like, I could have done better than half them sons of bitches.
You were one of
there.
the finalists too, weren't you? I mean,
I was in there. I was in the third stage of casting.
Oh, damn it!
And
so close.
I was close, but maybe sometime soon I'll be able to crack that, or any barbecue show. It would be freaking amazing,
Sure.
But that's my number one, man. Barbecue Pitmasters.
Where do you watch that on? What?
You really there's nowhere to stream it right now.
Damn, a hidden gem.
It is, man. You can't even. There's no hard copies anywhere that I know of.
It?
I believe the first episode aired back in 2009, 10.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that old. Okay.
Yeah.
I bet you there's some kind of like grainy version on YouTube or something like that
absolutely.
If you wanted to seek it up.
I'm going to look it up real quick, but you can. But that, like I said, that's my number one.
All right. Sounds good.
Pass.
My number one is the granddaddy of them all. The one that in its premiere in the year 2000 pretty much set the standard for reality television shows, but bursting through that bubble. And that would be the CBS game series Survivor. Survivor is the longest running series that I have ever seen in my life. And I don't think it'll ever be topped. It's impossible at this point. I've been watching it for 23 years. I haven't missed a season of that show. I absolutely love this series. And I would like to give a shout out to Richard, our good buddy Richard Lozama, because I remembered when we were in school and the day after it aired, I didn't even see the premiere. So Richard comes up to me, he's like, "Hey man, did you see that show, that Survivor? These people live on an island and they like vote each other off, and the last person on the island gets $1 million." I was like, "No, that's kind of weird. What is that? Is it a movie?" He's like, "No, it's like a show." I thought it was something like what Lost was, going to become. Like, I thought it was a scripted series. He's like, "No, it's like a reality series." I'm like, "Oh." So then the next week they had showed the premiere episode right before that week's episode to kind of get people into watching it if you missed it. Because, back then, kids, we didn't get to watch. If you missed it live, you were screwed. Like, you didn't you didn't get DVRs. If you were lucky to remember, you could have it recorded on your VCR. But if you already had something else, like, forget it. It's just not going to happen. So if you missed it, you missed it. And so luckily they played a replay of it. I watched that first episode and then the next episode, and I didn't miss one since. So basically, if you don't know what Survivor is, I don't know what to tell you. But basically, it's a group of people that are casted away on an island, and they vote each other off. It's a tribal issue where everybody votes off the player. They work together in factions and groups. And they've adapted the game over the years. There's so much evolution in the game where they tossed in immunity idols, where you're safe from the vote, and stuff like that, just to kind of switch it up. They've had gimmick series and this and that. And I remember like Sonia and Connor, they really got into it too. So they went back and rewatched all of them because they're all streaming on Paramount Plus now. So if you have the crazy idea to go and watch every single one of them. They are all on there in Paramount Plus, which they did. They Sonia caught up to where we started, because she started watching with me about 10 years ago, I would say. And she watched all the seasons leading up to the one that she started with me. She's like, oh, I already know who wins all these, so I'm not going to rewatch them. But then Connor is the biggest Survivor fan that I know. He became obsessed with this series. He continues to be obsessed with these series. This little dude even he had the gall to say, just this past weekend, we were talking about Survivor because the finale just aired, right? So we were talking about this season's winner. And he had the gall to say that he thinks he knows more about Survivor than I do about movies.
Whoa.
That's how confident this guy is, man. And I said, holy shit, really? I don't know, man. That's a bold-ass claim. But I will say, in his perspective, he really does. Like, he knows obscure notes, obscure amounts of information about that series. He knows who got voted out when, and you can name a player. He could tell you the season they were on, the tribe they were on. Like, the kid is obsessed. The guy had a Survivor birthday party last year where it was all Survivor themed. This past Halloween, he was dressed up as Jeff Probst. Like, he's got a Jeff Probst cutout. I mean, he's obsessed with this series. He buys every buff from every season, and he's just the biggest. I happily handed over the mantle of Survivor fan, super fan to him, because I'm not on that level anymore. But
has he auditioned yet?
No, we keep telling him to, man. We keep telling him to. And what's funny is, like, during the show, they're always like, Probst will do that spot where he's like, hey, you want to be part of the Survivor? Come go to Survivor casting at CBS.com or something like that. And every single time we see it, man, we look right at Connor. I'm like, dude, you're not getting any younger. Like, you're about to be 19. If any time to go, the time is now. You don't live on your own yet. Just do it. Take a leave of absence to work, because you get paid to be on that show. You do. It's like, it may not be a lot of money, but you do sign a financial contract, because you can't be out of work for over a month. It's just not feasible. And if you win, you get paid a lot of money, so that's always good. But yeah, my number one is Survivor, man. It's just the best.
It is, man. It's one of those shows that, like you said, it's a staple in a lot of households. With streaming, it's a lot easier to watch, yes. And, one of the first couple seasons, man, it was hard to miss. It was one of those things that you would cancel plans with people, be like, I can't go do shit. Survivor's on from here to here. Call me after. But, oh, man, it's so good. Question for you.
Sure.
Who's your favorite player of all time?
I'm probably going to get flack for this, because you would think it would be like a hero, like Ozzy or something, but
Colby, bruh.
But yeah, I love Colby. It's either a tie between Colby or Boston Rob. I love Boston Rob.
Boston Rob is... I love Boston Rob, man.
I do too. Sonya hates him, and Connor doesn't like him either. But you know who Connor's favorite is? Is Russell, bro. Russell Hantz is Connor's favorite. He's such a heel, man. He likes all the bad guys. But, rewatching it with them, I was like, Russell, he really wasn't a villain. He was just so far ahead of the game as far as, like, deception, because that's what this game is. And it's like, when you're the most deceptive, it's almost like you get painted in this corner of being a villain. And a lot of those people are like, look, I don't act like this in my day-to-day life. But then when you're in Survivor, you have to lie.
Oh,
you have to be conniving. You have to outwit, outlast, outplay. In order to do that, you have to become a worse version of yourself at certain times. And the last few seasons, people have been getting along a little bit too well, and I told them, I was like, this show hasn't had a good villain in a really long time. Like, it's a very kumbaya type of tribe these days, and I miss the old where you would have one or two assholes where you're just like, I cannot wait for them to get voted out, or they get close to winning and you're just like, oh my god, if that person wins, I'm gonna be so pissed off.
Oh, man. Like, I think, and this goes along with a couple of y'all's favorites. Like, one of my favorite players to ever watch play the game was Tyson.
Yeah.
That boy, like, he didn't give a shit about
No,
nothing, man.
He was cold, man, cold blooded. But and the female dynamic, like Parvati, I love Parvati, and she was the same, man. She would backstab you to your face. She'll stab your face. Like, she did not care. But it's just players like that some could. I mean, when you look at the winners in the ratio of good, hero versus villain, I think villains kind of outweigh that from that perspective. I don't know. I need to ask Connor to see who's won more heroes or villains. I should have had him on here for this segment, but yeah, but Survivor, it's just such an iconic series. It's one of the greatest of all time,
and I don't see it stopping anytime soon, man.
No, they announced Survivor 45, and I think in my mind, I've told Sonia and Connor, I said, look, I think that Jeff Probst will want to get to 50. I think when they get to 50. They may be wrapping up shop because they're on 45 now. So you still have 6 more seasons, and it's 2 seasons a year. So it's like 4 more years. So I think that they want to hit that 50 mark, because how many shows can you say have 50 seasons of television like that on a broadcast station like CBS? Right, like not everything is The Simpsons, and I certainly haven't seen every episode of The Simpsons,
Yeah.
But I have seen every episode of Survivor, which is why nothing will top it. Nothing could ever possibly come close to that,
Yeah.
But
man, such a good show, and
well,
if you don't watch it, something wrong with you. I don't care what you say.
All right, Chris, we'll send us off the island. The tribe has spoken. It's time to close.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Back to our original format of the show. I know it was a little over an hour, but, man, hopefully you stuck around, listened to all the picks, headlines, recently watched, and hopefully you've taken away something really good from the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you're listening to, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of the podcast platforms. Go ahead, since you're here, go ahead, hit subscribe so you know when we're dropping episodes. And then also, since you're still here, go ahead and leave us a review. It just helps us get seen a little bit more. And then as we head over into the social media world, follow us on all the platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. All you got to do is look up the Screen Addicts Podcast, and you are sure to find us. With Twitter, you got to make sure, though, you go screen_addicts, and addicts is spelled ADDICS. And then also on Facebook, man, go and be a part of our private group and become one of our Screen Addicts fanatics. That is a group where we are most active, dropping trailers and movie news and TV news and everything almost that we want to talk about on the show in that upcoming week. So make sure you go and join that group. We'll accept you really, really quick. And guys, I think that's about it. Oh, one more thing. If you have any suggestions, comments, or just want to reach out to us, maybe possibly be on the show, you can always email us as well. The email is the screenaddictspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll read anything on there. We'll definitely, if you want to be a part of the show, we'd love to have you on. But I think that is it for us tonight. So as for me, good night.
Adios, amigos.